Steve and Jill here.
Hi.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk about how there are con artists all around you. And here's the show that Jill and I talked about right before we started.
Yep.
This has the potential to be so negative, and we won't let that happen.
Because that's not who we are.
We're going to just give you our take on our industry and the land industry and the education industry, and we're going to laugh about it. And it's not negative.
No. But we want you to be aware.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that.
You know, a couple of days ago, we had an interview with Travis Jenkins.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. And he flat out said it. I don't know if it was in the after show or in the actual show. He said, I think that you guys have an obligation to do this show like this to really, because you're the ones who have the experience and all of it. So we'll get into it in a second, but
I forgot that.
it was a good
part.
compliment.
It was nice.
And this is my way of relieving my obligation to Travis Jenkins.
Nice.
Before we get into it, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the landinvestors.com online community. It's free.
Jim W. wrote, "Hi all, I've been selling lower cost properties on terms without title. I'm closing my first larger sale with title and they are preparing a payoff deed to be recorded. I have heard we do not want to use a deed of trust, as then you need to go through foreclosure to recover a property if there's any default. Is anyone familiar with a payoff deed and what is necessary if the buyer defaults? Thanks, James." This is all your thing.
A payoff deed. So he's exactly right. He's going down the path of doing a deed of trust. There's two ways to sell property on terms with seller financing. Deed of trust, which is very similar to how you would buy a house. The property gets recorded in your name. There's a mortgage on it, and they have a lien. So in the case of a deed of trust here with the land, it's the exact same thing. The property goes into the new buyer's name, and you, the seller, are essentially acting as the bank, and in between you is a trustee. And the deed of trust outlines all of this. In fact, it's just like a car title. They're actually on the actual deed, so that when the property gets all paid off years from now, that payoff deed, just like you get a new lien to your new title to your car, the Toyota Financial or whatever's on there gets removed, and we would get removed as a seller, and you get a payoff deed. Mm-hmm. That's the mechanics of it. The other way is a land contract where you sign. I'm a seller. I sell a property to Jill. We sign a contract. The property stays in my name until she pays it off. Then I deed it to her. Mm-hmm. And that way, if you're out of compliance, if she's out of compliance in any way during the course of the deal, there's terms and conditions in there and procedures about what happens. And essentially, it's if she's 30 days late, for any reason, it's over. I own the property and it's all done. Mm-hmm. So you have to be real careful. If you're listening to this, please pay attention to this. Every state and some jurisdictions like counties have rules about this. And they have very, very strong opinions. In a lot of cases, they have case law to back up these opinions. So what I just described may work in some states, but what I described may not be appropriate at all. These are just the basic concepts of the two types of ways to deed property to people and provide seller financing. So please check your
state.
And the contract. Some states even go so far as to say you need to use this contract.
We prefer the latter, and we would only do them in the states that accept the latter, because on the first part, right? You like that? Which is true. Well, because the first part, there's so much to undo. That's the whole thing. It really is. And I'll tell you, truth be told, this is why we do not do this really at all anymore. I'd rather buy for cash, sell for cash, not have to babysit, payments, because it's true. There's a lot that goes into it. It sounds great. A lot of people like it because they feel they can sell property faster and higher. And probably, yes, at some point you get, in the end, more money. But I'd rather have to double my cash right now and move on. I don't need to wait 3 years to triple my investment at $100 a month. And babysit the deal, because there's always something. Oh, it's Christmas. Can I move my date? Oh, I lost my job. It's a lot of work.
It's not passive by any stretch.
This is true. Yeah, there's anything passive about it.
So here's some Steve and Jill reality. Here's some reality checks on this on term sales. The default rate for rural vacant
Yeah.
land is between 50 and 75%, sometimes 95% in certain cases. And the
True.
difference between rural vacant land and infill lots is that there's an intended use, and like we said earlier in the week, the use of this property has already been mapped out. So people usually, when they buy property on turns, they go use it, and so that they don't want to pay. They want to pay it off.
Right.
People who buy rural vacant land for all different types of reasons on terms might lose interest in the whole thing in 6 months. And you don't want to get stuck holding to have to spend to foreclose on a property through a trust deed is, on the low end $1,200, on the high end $3,500 to $5,500. So a lot of cases that's more than the whole property's worth.
And a lot of steps and a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thank
So yeah, that's the whole deal. Stick the cash in the beginning.
Yeah.
We could have just said that in the beginning.
This is true.
Today's topic: there are con artists all around you. This is the meat of the show. In the space that Jill and I have put ourselves into, for better or for worse, educating people about how to buy and sell real estate, there's just a lot of crooks. And you have a choice. I'm making this as positive as possible. And I would encourage you heavily to do this. What separates us and just about everybody else that I'm aware of it in this space is our experience and our education and our commitment to doing a daily show, and our advice, and the fact that we do every single Thursday multiple webinars for our members, and on and on and on.
Transactions.
And the services that we provide, and the almost 16,000 deals that we've done should tell you, and I'm not selling anything here, that we're serious about this and we're here to stay. I mean, we're on episode 1100 almost now.
Mm-hmm.
And we have just as many weekly webinars. We started doing it in 2015. I think we've missed 1 or 2 weeks because of holidays. So there are other people who take this concept, unfortunately, and make it not legit. And in every case that I've seen this happen, it never ends up being a real threat to us by any stretch, or our members, because the type of members that we have see right through this stuff anyway.
Good point.
But what it ends up doing is, for newer people who really need the most help in a lot of different ways, confuses them.
It's true.
And the worst case thing that can happen is the new people might start down this path, get some bad information or some information from people that are just doing it half-heartedly, and it ends their career because they don't have a good experience with their first few deals, or they get sold some stuff that's too expensive, not land, but education and all of it. So
Right.
there are con artists all around you. And it's not just this industry, it's every single
Everywhere.
industry. You know, I
Exactly.
bet you $1 wherever you work, you could sit there, if you really sit around and think about, who's like basically a crook that I work with, who's a great person and who's a crook.
This is true. Exactly. Exactly. And we're only bringing it up because we've had a recent reminder to be on our toes
Yeah.
about this, and we just wanted to bring it to your attention. So I was going to say, be aware. Like you just said, Stephen. We all know where you all kind of know. You have a sense, and like I said, it came to us recently, and I thought I saw it, but I missed it, man. So I'm going back to my own. I'm going back to my own instincts and trusting my gut a little bit more. I want you to trust your gut, and not just even in transactions. I'm even talking dealing with buyers, dealing with sellers, everything, no matter what you're doing, please trust your gut. You got to do this. Do your homework. Take action before it's too late. I want, if you're, don't squash it down. I really want you to.
Don't see something that's not there.
Yes, exactly.
Women are famous for having this sixth sense about,
Yeah.
no, something's off, man.
Exactly.
Men are famous for the exact opposite. Let's just barrel through it and see what happens at the other end. And then
Right.
ends in a fiery ball of tragedy. And the woman that's standing next to him is going,
I tried to tell you.
didn't feel right for me from the beginning. How many
Yeah.
times have you ever heard that sentence? This
Right.
didn't feel right for me from the beginning. And even, men have it, and they just try to see something that's not there, both in real estate deals and then in dealing with business partners and things like that. So just tread
Exactly.
cautiously. Ask yourself a lot of questions. In a perfect world, I'll tell you, here's an example. Way earlier in my career, way before Land Academy was even a thought, I took almost a week-long seminar on tax lien foreclosures in Las Vegas. It was very expensive, extremely expensive. And the reason that I chose, it's the only time I've ever kind of taken any online education that way. And the reason that I chose to do it and chose this guy, he's a former owner of taxsellist.com, was because I did, I don't know, 2 or 3 months of research. I listened to, he had a show. He wrote a very, very intelligent blog. As a writer, he was incredibly intelligent and had crazy amount of experience. He had an airplane collection, which didn't hurt anything because he's a serious pilot. So that lends himself some credibility. And he did tons and tons and tons of deals. His first name was John, I don't remember. So I go to the seminar by myself. There's probably 10 or 15 people in there. It's not just like our live events. I think there's 20 or 30 people at our live events. It's not a stadium full of people. And I learned so much. I would have paid twice of what so that's how Jill and I have set Land Academy up. We want you to feel like you are, it's like, I got so much value
Part of a
for
tight
my money.
community.
It's silly.
Yeah.
It's silly. I would have paid twice as much for that. If that's what you think at the end of all this, then I did my job.
Yep.
And that's how seriously I take this.
I agree. Thank you. My other thing I was going to say, my last point is don't be that person. And you might find yourself staring at a deal that you kind of scratch your head going, I could probably get away with this. Or, someone might bring you something that's a little bit borderline, in your gut, let's just say it, unethical. Please don't do that. Don't be that person. I look at every deal, every transaction that way. And there's things that we flat out, we will not do. We will not. I'll make half the money and do the right thing. And we mean it when we say too, with our team, we're like, all right, everybody, we're always gonna do the right thing, even if it costs more, whatever it is.
Here's some red flags for me. This is just me. Other people do fantastic. They build a career on this. When someone asks me for money, hey, you want to put $50,000 into this? It sends out a massive red flag for me.
Right.
Here's the way around it, and here's what Jill and I do all the time. Hey, I've got this great property. Here's the APN. I've got it under contract for this. I know we can sell it for Y, but I'd love your opinion, Steve. Do you want to invest in it with me? It's just a one-time deal. If it works, maybe we'll do some other deals together. So now I have control over the deal, and they're not blindly asking me for money, which for some reason it just sends me to the moon. And, everybody's role is defined. Maybe I'm the money person. Maybe they're the manager on the deal. Maybe it's the opposite. And so I've done a lot of deals on both sides that way. And it seems to work out great. Do you have any immediate red flags when people come to you?
Well, yeah, I do. A lot of it is just kind of that. I need to see a deal.
Yeah.
I need to really see a deal. Yeah, like you just said, don't come to me like, I need X amount. Don't worry about it. Well, I am going to worry about it.
Here's another really good example where there's a guy in our group who's an accomplished Los Angeles County employee. And he has a tremendous amount of experience in the zoning and all kinds of stuff in there. So he came to us and said, I've got several clients who are trying to find this property type. So now I'm really sitting up straight and listening because he's got a ton of experience. He's actually got some real clients, and he needs our expertise to locate properties that are very strategic. And he's got it all spelled out in a spreadsheet, and he wants to split it 50-50. And together, we're better.
Bingo.
And so we're immediately better, and we both are set up to succeed based on our what we bring to the table. He brings something that's so unique to the table, and I'd like to think we do too, and it's all based in experience.
Exactly.
So we have several lines of business like this, and now's not the time to bring it up, with members who have proven themselves, and it's cash flowing, and they're happy, and we're happy, and it's they're using their resources, we're using ours, and in every case, they've brought some to the table where they're already better at it than we are.
Right.
And I'd like to think we did on our end too. That's not a red flag situation.
For me, I'm going to end it on this. Our group is 99.999% awesome, trustworthy, fantastic, and I feel great about them.
Yeah.
So
next week we're going to do.
And I'm very lucky.
And I'm proud. I'm proud to be the ringleader.
Yeah.
Next week we're going to do a show about the typical Land Academy member profile, and I can't wait. We're going to interview some of our staff because they're on the front lines, and I have a lot of questions. Like some of the questions I have are like, even with brand new members, like what's the difference in their personality type? And I think
Yeah,
it'd
that'd
be
be good.
really interesting.
That's a good show.
Hey, we know your time's valuable. Thanks for spending some of it with us today. Join us next time for an episode called Run to the Bank, Notary Close, and then get title insurance afterward.
Interesting. And we answer your questions posted on our online community found at landinvestors.com. It is free.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition. That crazy title that I came up with there, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, is based on an actual deal that Jill is doing that's closing. It'll be closed by the time this airs for sure.
Yep.
It's a really, really interesting deal. This doesn't happen to us very often, but once in a while we do deals that are, this deal happens to be very financially feasible for us, but it also is really helping the seller out. And it's ensuring that it's just a little bit unorthodox the way we're doing this deal, but we'll share all the details. I find these deals extremely interesting.
Exactly. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, please subscribe and rate us there. We are Steve and Jill.
Information
And inspiration
to buy undervalued property.